Well, greetings everyone, and welcome to part 1 of my week 1 video. And this is the good old syllabus review and just the general welcome to the course overview. So as you know, this is English 1020, this is Comp 2, and this is section W16. So if you want to follow along with me by pulling up the syllabus, and that's a good idea, click on content up at the top of our Brightspace course page, and then you'll see the left-hand sidebar there, and just under table of contents you'll see course syllabus. So if you want to click on there, you can follow along with me. So I know what you're thinking right about now. Blah blah blah, yawn yawn, the syllabus review. But please do actually pay attention if you can as we go through these policies, because they are important to your success in the course. And this video will remain up so that if you need to go back and sort of look at parts of it, you can later on. So my name is Patty Ireland, and if you think of leprechauns and shamrocks and Lucky Charms cereal, you'll remember my name. I have the red hair to go along with it, so you get the whole package there. But in terms of what students generally call me, some of them might call me things that aren't very nice, but hopefully those students are few in number. Generally, people call me Professor I, and that's sort of a nickname that started way back, literally from the day that the doors opened on the Strawberry Plains campus, so I'm very comfortable with that. You see my email address there, and that is the quickest, best way to get in touch with me. You also see my office number there, and this semester I'm not holding traditional on-ground office hours. I will be in my office some because I'm teaching an on-ground class on Tuesday, Thursday mornings. So by the way, obviously I'm not available to be online with you during those times. But you know, if you do pop into my office and I happen to be there, please do wear a mask for your protection and for mine. And what's even better though is if we communicate via a private conference via Microsoft Teams if need be. So do let me know if the need ever arises to do that. This is an online asynchronous class, by the way. So that means all of the class assignments, all of the information is conveyed to you through our Brightspace course page. So this class will never meet virtually in real time. Rather, you take part in the weekly activities, the discussions, etc. You submit assignments through our Brightspace course page. So let me tell you a little bit about me before we get into the course. I am from a little town called East Ridge, and that's how you have to say it because that's how we talk in East Ridge. I'm currently at work on a memoir about growing up in East Ridge on a more serious note, but it is an interesting little place. It's right on the Chattanooga, Georgia state line border, and I like to refer to it lovingly as the armpit of the redneck world. We have a beauty shop there. It's called the Purdy Do, P-U-R-D-Y, Do. And I can assure you that if you go in there, you will not look the same when you come back out. You might not be very pretty in your own estimation. You would be in East Ridge, but you will look different. We also have another attraction, the Party Mart. And there's a sign out front that says, "Stop where pleasure starts, Party Mart." So you can get your beer in there. You can get your National Enquirer in there. You can get your Bible in there too. So you have everything you need for life in East Ridge. I'm also told we now have a museum. I have no clue what is in there since we never did anything that, as far as I know, that really made the news, but it would be interesting to see what might be in there. Now, when I was back at East Ridge Junior High and East Ridge High, There was a girl there, and I generally tell this story on the first day of class when we're in a normal classroom setting. And she also had a good Irish last name. It was O'Rear, O apostrophe R-E-A-R. And her parents, in their infinite wisdom, named her Fanny. So her name was Fanny O'Rear, and you can imagine all of the torture that she endured her whole life, I guess. I'm told, by the way, that she is now doing hair for the deceased at a local funeral home. Her goal was to go to beauty school and be a hairdresser once she couldn't be a mortician, because she was sort of morbid and she would sit in class and draw coffins and all of that. But Fanny and I became kind of sort of friends in gym class when we were the last two people picked to be on anyone's team. Fanny was never chosen because she had these big, thick bifocal glasses, and she just literally could not see the ball coming at her. She couldn't see to catch it or throw it or anything. I had perfect vision, but I was and remain a natural-born klutz. So I'll be telling you more stories about East Ridge and Fanny, but the moral here is, if you do not like your name, or if you have a nickname that you prefer, we have the more formal names on our rosters. Let me know in the Getting to Know You discussion board, which is one of the two topics in the board for this first week. And or maybe if you just have a terrible name like Fanny O'Rear and you want us to just call you Sue or Bill or something, we can do that within reason, so let me know. I want to welcome you to English 1020. It's a class that obviously is going to build on the concepts that you learned in 1010, while encouraging you to think even more deeply about the art of interpreting great works of literature, so fiction, poetry, and drama. And this particular section of 1020 I'm really excited about because it's a globalized section. And what that means is we'll consider works of literature written by authors from all over the world, not just American authors. And in order to open our minds to other kinds of experiences. And in addition, we have a theme, and that theme is human enslavement, an exploration of bondage and agency, which sounds kind of dark, but actually I think it's going to be interesting. So through our readings, we'll examine a wide variety of readings, texts from around the world that comment on various types of slavery, including historical fiction based on the African Atlantic slave trade, and excuse me, works of fiction and poetry and drama that delve into other ideas of enslavement. So the habits, the ideologies, the cultural, religious norms, the political, societal structures that might enslave us in some way. Some people are enslaved by their addictions. Some people are enslaved by the way they think. So like a traditional 1020 class, this course centers on analytic writing, so writing and thinking analytically about what you're reading. And it also centers on the further practice of research writing skills. It serves as the prereq for sophomore literary studies. It provides you with a basic understanding of an appreciation of literature, an understanding of terminology of literary analysis, and it offers you further competence in doing research, as I said. So it prepares you to write with greater breadth and depth and incisiveness and maturity, precision, that sort of thing. But most importantly, it allows you to further discover, celebrate, tap into language and its power for a lifetime. Words have power, right? They can birth and they can kill. They truly can. And so my hope for you is that this class will help you not just in your academic experience, but in your real life to be a better communicator, to choose and use your words wisely and powerfully. And I hope you're going to profit from this class and enjoy it. Enjoy the experience that we're about to share together as a community of writers and thinkers. I want this class to give you experiences that you'll remember throughout your life. So welcome. And I want to also just add this little caveat. Note that I do not in any way equate the horrors of actual physical slavery to those of other forms of enslavement that I'm using those quotations with there. So, on a serious note there. The prereq is passing English 1010 for this class. So, if you did not pass English 1010 with at least a D, then you cannot receive credit for taking this class. So, you want to make sure you check, make sure you passed 1010. And then the required text and materials. Oh, I have such good news for you. You're going to be so happy. You don't have to purchase a reading textbook because all of the readings for this class are online to save you some money. Yay, right? So you're welcome. And if you just click on content up toward the top of our course page and then on the readings tab, which is found in the left-hand sidebar there, you'll have access to all of the course readings. There is one book that is strongly recommended, and that is the same book that you had in English 1010, the Little Seagull Handbook. And so it's not absolutely required. If you have another book that serves the same purpose and has sections on grammar and mechanics and MLA citation, you'll be fine. But it will certainly help you if you have this one. And note, you can also purchase an ebook version of it that is cheaper. So I won't take up your time with reading through the course goals and the expected student learning outcomes that come from our governing body, the TBR, the Tennessee Board of Regents. But if you want to read through those on your own, you are certainly welcome to, so that you have a better understanding of what the course is teaching you. And so now we get to the description of the class, just the overall description of how it's going to play out, and the grading scale. So this class is an exploration of 3 literary genres, and that's a fancy word that just means types or kinds of literature. So 3 different types or kinds. And that would be short fiction, so not long fiction like a novel, but just short fiction, short stories, excerpts from novels, poetry, and I know that strikes fear into some of your hearts, but it's okay, and drama. Our main goals are twofold. So first, to learn to interpret and write analytically. So we're thinking, we're analyzing about those 3 genres, and then secondly, to further study and practice our research writing skills. So it's a writing intensive course, and it's structured around a workshop type of environment because I have a background in creative writing. And so you'll be expected to write major essays, to write discussion board postings every week, and to continue to develop your critical thinking skills by reading and engaging with a lot of different text, including one another's writing. So critical thinking, remember this from 1010, this is the best way that I know to explain it. When I was a little girl, my dad, who was such a wonderful man, used to say to me, Tug, that was my nickname because he called me Shug and I couldn't pronounce it. As a toddler, it came out Tug, so that became my nickname. He would say, Tug, before you make a decision about anything, consider all sides. And remember, there are at least 2 sides to every question or problem or issue, and sometimes even more. And you want to think about all the sides carefully before you weigh in and make a decision, make a choice. And so that's what critical thinking is. It's thinking about things from all sides. The course is divided up into 4 units, and each of those units corresponds with a major paper you write at the end of each section. So the first one is fiction, from subjection to liberation, the lies that bind us. See what I did there? Instead of the ties, I said the lies. And so that centers on developing an understanding of the interpretation of fiction. So writing that is not absolutely factual. It may have elements of reality in it, as you'll see. And also we'll look at the power of fiction over time to move us and change us as individuals and collectively. as seen through the lens of our common theme, human enslavement. So we'll be looking at some texts that talk about the actual Atlantic slave trade. We'll be looking at other texts that are a little bit different. And we'll learn the elements and the terminology of fiction. We'll conclude with a main essay assignment that focuses on the art of analyzing fictional works. We'll analyze the character and dig more deeply into to unravel those layers of meaning within our readings. The second unit is poetry. You gotta serve somebody. So I don't know how many of you know that song, but that's actually going to be one of our readings. And so it'll teach you the forms, the devices, the terminology of poetry, again, as viewed through the lens of these ideas and habits and addictions and power structures that might enslave human beings around the world. So that major paper, paper 2, that we'll turn in at the end of that unit, will encourage you to close read and explicate, that's a fancy word for explain, a work of poetry in an effort to thoroughly understand its meanings and, again, further delve into an original and compelling analysis of its ideas. And then the third section is drama, bringing freedom to life. So it focuses on an understanding and interpretation of dramatic works as seen from that perspective, again, of our topic, human enslavement. And during this unit, we will be both reading a screenplay and watching an actual film together on the topic of slavery. It's Amistad, Steven Spielberg's Amistad. And so we have the screenplay novel version, and we have the actual film. And when we get closer, I'll be sharing more information, but I should tell you up front that the initial scenes in Amistad, if you haven't seen it, are very graphic. And so if you have an issue with watching something like that, then email me privately when we get to that point in the semester, and I will allow you to simply read the screenplay version, the novel screenplay, and write about that in paper 3. But hopefully you can watch the film. Again, I realize it's graphic, but the Atlantic slave trade was graphic. That's the reality. And the conditions on board slave ships were horrible. And so I think that it's important for us as 21st century people to fully understand just how horrific it was, even though that makes us uncomfortable, so that we can not repeat such horrors again, hopefully in the future. So the very last little section is reading, responding, and writing to the 3 genres. And it sort of sums up all of the things we've done through this semester as we're winding down to an end. And you take an exam at the beginning of that last little unit on literary terminology, which I'll be preparing you for throughout and we'll be reviewing for right before. And then this last little unit culminates in a final essay exam. And that's where you can demonstrate your competency in the areas of study that we focused on. Apologies. This is the second syllabus review video I've done today, and I'm losing my voice. So you see how the grading plays out there. The bulk of the grades are made up of those 3 major papers and the final exam. And note that a normal class meets for 3 hours a week, and in addition to that, obviously, students complete work outside of class time, the readings, the writing assignments, etc. And so this class is no different in terms of the hours you'll need to put in every week to succeed. So expect to put in from 4 to 6 hours each week in order to succeed in the class. And note that we can see how many hours you've actually been online in our course. We can even see where you've been and how long you were there. Students often don't know that, but we can. And you know, I've seen students before who would come back and not be happy with a grade and say, oh, but I put in hours of work online every week. And then the actual record shows that maybe that student was online a total of 4 hours the entire semester in that course, which of course there's no way you could pass the class like that. Note that I do my very best to turn the major papers around quickly, and generally I do so within a week, but it can take up to 2 weeks to do so and post the grades due to the fact that I'm teaching 4 different sections and dealing with over 100 people. So if you sort of do the math there, even if it took only 10 minutes to grade a paper, and usually it takes longer than that, when you're talking over 100 papers and a round of papers, do the math. That's a lot of hours just grading. So you see the course policies and requirements there, and the disability services statement. If you need accommodations due to a disability, then you want to make sure that you have a current accommodation plan on file with the Office of Disability Services, and all the information is provided for you there. And perhaps you need extra time, like on a quiz or something like that. And there's certainly no shame in that. I have a son who needed accommodations all the way through, and he's one of the literally most intelligent people I have ever known in my life. So it's no reflection on you that you need that. But send me a private email, and do be aware that by law we must have a current accommodation plan from the Office of Disability Services before we can legally give you those accommodations. So be aware of that. If you need to communicate with me again, send that email to paireland@pstcc.edu or through the Brightspace course site here. And note that if you do send the email to the PA Ireland account, make sure you do so from your own Pellissippi email account, not from a personal email. And let me tell you why. That was my husband sneaking around there. Stay tuned. You might even see my cat if you stay tuned. So here's why. If you send the email from a personal account, often it goes immediately into our spam folders. And even before the ransomware attack that most of you know just happened, it's not a typical situation. Normally in a personal email account, you can access your spam anytime. For our protection, and now it's doubly so after this ransomware hit, we cannot do that. And so we might get an email alert from IT every 2 or 3 weeks or so saying you have some emails in your spam folder, and only then can we go in and access those emails. So if you send me an email from a personal email account, I might not ever see it for 2 or 3 weeks. And so if your email was important, if it was urgent, if it was asking for an extension, if it was letting me know you're ill, God forbid, or something like that, and you send it from your personal email, I might not get it. So make sure that you send it via your Pellissippi email account. Note that I will respond to you as quickly as I possibly can, and usually I'm very good at that. If you look at Rate My Professor, you'll see that. But if your email comes in later in the day, it's going to be the following morning before I'm able to respond. If it's a Tuesday or Thursday morning, it's going to be after I teach the on-ground class and make it back home before I can respond. And if you email me over the weekend, I might not be able to see that email or respond to you until the following Monday morning. So it's a good idea not to procrastinate and on an assignment and then have a question and be emailing me at 11 o'clock on a Sunday night or a Saturday night, because I may not be able to respond to you until Monday morning. I try to be prompt, but like everyone, like you, I'm human, and I have to have time to rest, to recoup, to be with my family, to have dinner, to just settle down. And I appreciate your mindfulness of those facts. So all papers obviously must be typed. We know that in an online class, but in an on-ground class, that generally has to be stated. Double spaced. They should have standard margins. They should be typed in Times New Roman 12-point font, according to MLA formatting. And you want to put your name, my name, Professor Ireland, the name of the course, English 1020, and the date in the upper left-hand corner of your paper. And all of your pages in the upper right-hand corner should contain your last name and the page number. Again, that's MLA formatting, which hopefully you learned in English 1010. So there's an MLA Help section on our Brightspace course page. If you go to Content up at the top of the page and then look for MLA Help in the left-hand sidebar, you'll find that information. Also, I'll be giving you sample papers and even an MLA template, which will help you get that formatting correct. Your Little Seagull Handbook also has a whole chapter with a sample paper that shows you. There are 4 quizzes on various readings and concepts throughout the semester. They are obviously announced in your syllabus. They're announced on the weekly checklist, which I'll be talking about in a moment. And each of those quizzes is worth 50 points or 5% of your final grade in the class. So together they make up 200 points or 20% of your final grade. And so if you miss them, then obviously you're losing a lot of points there. So to take a quiz, click on Quizzes, again up at the top of the page, and then look for the appropriate quiz, Quiz 1, Quiz 2, etc. Note that quizzes are generally not made up unless you have a legitimate reason for missing the quiz and you contact me promptly to let me know. It is up to you to contact me promptly to make up a quiz, and the reason has to be legitimate. It has to be valid. It cannot be, oh, I just forgot that quiz, right? So this is college. Part of what we're learning is maturity and responsibility so that we can function in the real world. All the documents for this class are up on our Brightspace page. And so again, if you click on Content and then look on the left-hand sidebar for course documents, you'll find them all. They're in alphabetical order. You may have to hit Load More at the bottom of some of those pages to access all of them. There are 15 weekly discussion boards in this class, and I'm really losing my voice. So each of the boards contains from 1 to 2 different topics within it every week, and each week's board will count for 10 points for a total of 150 points or 15% of your final grade in the class. So a grading rubric is provided for you on the discussion forums to show you how the discussion postings are graded. But to achieve the points for every week, then you must first answer the discussion board questions according to the instructions that are provided for you on the board, and then offer a substantive response to one classmate's posting, just one, right? You don't have to do 2. I mean, you can if you want to, but that will not give you extra points, just one classmate. So substantive, that means, do more than just say, gosh, I loved your posting, that was great, the end, right? And it's wonderful if you want to compliment, I cannot talk, compliment your classmate on a posting, but in addition to that, offer some substantive comment about the content of that posting. Your initial postings for each weekly board are due by 11:59 p.m. on Wednesday night. So if you have 2 topics, your initial postings for each one of those 2 topics are due by Wednesday night at 11:59 p.m. And then the remaining response posting to that one classmate in the designated board, and the board will tell you, you need to respond to topic 2 only or topic 1 only. That is due by 11:59 p.m. every Sunday night. So you post first and then you respond by that Sunday night. And again, note that some weeks will require 2 different postings rather than just the one topic in the board. And you have to complete all 15 postings and responses to receive the full points. Note that this very first week of class, I am not requiring that Wednesday night deadline. I'm allowing everything for the first discussion board of week 1 to be due by this coming Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. And that's because we're beginning on a Tuesday. You need to get the lay of the land, so to speak, in our course. And we may have some folks who add the class late. So this very first week, week 1, and you'll see that in the weekly checklist and up on the board, everything for the discussion boards comes due on this coming Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. But thereafter, your initial postings, whether it's one topic or two, will always be due on a Wednesday night at 11:59 p.m. and your one response to one classmate will always be due the following Sunday night. So revisions. Good writing is about revising and getting better, obviously. So even though it requires a lot more work for me, I will allow you to revise one of the major papers to receive a higher grade on that paper. I feel like that's fair to you, and I feel like it's important. So I ask you to choose between papers 1 and 2. So when you're making your choice, you want to think about the grade you received, which is the lower grade. You also want to think about the points that those papers are worth and kind of do the math there. This revision has to be turned in to me no later than 11:59 p.m. on Sunday, the 17th of April. And there will be no exceptions to that rule. I'm sorry, but none. The reason being that we're close to the end of the semester at that point, and we as professors are simply inundated with grading. So there's not time to extend that deadline. So to revise one of those papers, you want to correct your mistakes in a new version of the paper. So you want to look back at your graded copy of that paper and correct every error that I pointed out, every single one. It's a good idea to save your major papers on your computer so that you have them there. So you can go to assignments and to submit and look for paper revisions to upload your revision. In addition to creating a new version of that paper with all the corrections made, you want to submit a brief 1/2 page minimum explanation to me detailing the changes you made and upload it along with your corrected paper. And in your explanation, describe the most frequent errors you were making there, explain how you plan to avoid them in the future. And then your final grade for the revision will be the average of your initial essay grade and your revised grade. So it's possible for a student to actually come up a whole letter grade if he or she makes all of those revisions. And the essay needs to reflect full revision and editing work on your part, as well as the addition of that 1/2 page minimum explanation. So to be eligible to turn in a revision on either paper 1 or 2, you must have turned in all the previous major papers on time. That's your reward. So if you didn't turn one of those in on time up to that point, and this is again the 17th of April, then you're not eligible to submit a revision. If you had an official extension from me, then you are still eligible. And also, if you earned an A on papers 1 and or 2, then you are not eligible to revise because you've already earned an excellent score. Note that we'll hold a peer review for paper 1. And so you'll be reviewing a peer's paper. You'll also turn in a rough draft to me, and I will comment extensively on it. I will line edit it. And note that many professors will not do that because it is terribly time consuming. Essentially, we're grading the paper twice. We're going through that process twice, even though the first time around you're not actually getting a grade, you're just getting the benefit of what would happen if you didn't correct those errors, right, in advance of writing the final paper. So very time consuming. And with paper 1, you want to make sure that you go in and look at my comments and make the changes I suggest, because that will help you earn a higher grade and help you learn. And that's the one and only time that I will line edit. I won't do it anymore after that, so take advantage. With paper 2, we'll engage in a pre-writing process where you submit a pre-written intro and thesis and little informal outline and your sources, and I look those over and give you feedback. So I back off in that paper and let you assume more responsibility for your writing. And then with paper 3, you assume full responsibility and you do a self-review where you look back at a previously graded paper, you note all the common errors that you made, and I give you a series of steps to go through so that hopefully you don't repeat those errors in paper 3 and you can earn a higher grade. So those are the processes. And any student who doesn't submit the required materials before the deadline there has 10 points automatically docked from his or her paper grade. And that's to emphasize the importance of the processes of writing. The only exception for that policy there will be for students who can provide documentation for a valid excuse for not being able to turn that in on time. So, again, God forbid, an illness, a death in the immediate family, an accident, or something like that. And rough drafts are submitted in the assignments tab. Just look for rough draft of paper 1, etc. So you see the little blurb about financial aid. Maintaining attendance is important. If you're considering dropping or withdrawing, you need to check with financial aid before doing so because that could adversely affect financial aid and or lottery scholarship eligibility. I'll let you read the non-discrimination, emotional well-being support, grade appeal, syllabus statement, COVID-19 procedure policies all by yourself. Good times, right? I will say that with the academic dishonesty policy, it's very important that you not plagiarize because it is not good if you do that. You'll note that with the attendance policy, and I'll talk about this in a little bit in more detail, but we do expect you to attend virtually to complete your activities for any given week. I have a lot of helpful resources for you. And here I give you information on online tutoring help. We also have in-person tutoring help at all the campuses. Let me just say that most of the tutors, unlike the professors who are tenured like myself or tenure track, most of the tutors are not doing anything else other than tutoring. So many of them are not teaching. A few of them are. Most of them are not. And their only job is to tutor. They're not having to do committee work like we are. They don't have to do assessments like we do. All the professional development that we have to do. So their one focus is tutoring you. And so often when your professors literally do not have time to do that the way we would like, the tutoring center and the Ask a Tutor online tutoring can help you. And so you can go to them at any point in the writing process and they will be a great help to you. So take advantage of that. And there's online research information from the library. And then I give you information on how to navigate our Brightspace course site. There's a lot of resources up there and it might feel overwhelming. So you might want to just go in and sort of peruse the class and get the lay of the land a little bit. But you want to follow the exact directions on the reading schedule within this syllabus, or even better, from the weekly checklist to know where, when, and how to submit or post within the course site. And that is the most important advice that I can give you. Check the weekly checklist every single week. So look for course documents and readings under content. Post major papers, rough drafts, ideal worksheets under assignments. Take quizzes through the quizzes tab. Those are all up at the top. Email classmates through the class list tab, also up at the top of the course site. And post to discussion boards through discussions up at the top. And so under general information about resources for students, you'll find help with Brightspace, with campus resources to link you up with everything from Panther Help to our Pellissippi Pantry for those who might need food resources. I have technology tools and supports, free literature, grammar exercises, grammar support, library information, and Mla Help. And so take advantage of all of these resources that I have posted for you. Also, you'll see that at the bottom of the discussion forums, there's the 1020 Cafe and there's the teacher's room, and both of those are ungraded. The cafe is a discussion board forum where you can talk to each other virtually about class questions, kind of get to know each other a little bit. And the teacher's room is a place where you can ask me questions. You can also email me. You can check the facts, frequently asked questions section under content in the left-hand toolbar, and the weekly checklist. But both of those are ungraded. I do have some netiquette rules there that I ask you to follow, and I do monitor both of those forums. Finally, I give you 10 important rules for success. Wake up, wake up. So rule 1, there are no dumb questions. In fact, smart people always ask questions. So if you have a question, know that I am a people person, right? And I love to interact with my students. And because of that, online is kind of not really my thing because I want to get to know you. However, that turns out to be good for you in the end because I really go the extra mile to try to make this course very organized and to make it feel more personal, and to get to know you as much as I can. So please know that I'm here to answer your questions. I truly want to help you whenever and however I can. And so if you have specific needs, concerns, feel free to let me know. You can look at the syllabus, see the facts section, go to weekly checklists. So important because those are going to help. You can go to the teacher's room, but, always feel free to email me as well. Rule number 2, read the announcements. So I will be posting announcements occasionally when there's a change. That rarely ever happens. But when there's information you really need to know, when there's something important in the class coming up, I'll also send an email out usually if it's pretty important. So read those emails when I send them out to the class or send them out to you. Look at those announcements on the main page. That's the only way I have to communicate with you. And if you don't pay attention and read them, then you're going to miss out. And remember, all the tasks for every single week of the semester are listed under weekly checklist. So click on content up at the top of the course page, scroll all the way down in the left-hand sidebar to weekly checklist and click on it. And there it's going to tell you every single thing that you need to do in the class for any given week. It is the best way to stay on top of things. Show up virtually, that is very important. So again, we're building a community of writers and thinkers, and the course is dependent on your online presence and engagement. So the discussion boards and other activities take place of what we would normally be doing in an in-class situation. So again, I'm going to count you present every week if you have completed all the assignments that are listed for that week under the weekly checklist. If you do not complete them, then I'm going to mark you absent for tasks you didn't complete. So you might be present for only half the week, depending on how many assignments you did. But you'll receive a 0 on any project or assignment or board that you don't complete. And so not showing up virtually affects your grade, because those discussion boards, those activities, prepare you for the major papers. And if you're not engaging in them, you're not going to do well. You won't understand what's going to be expected. They prepare you for the quizzes. They prepare you for the final. If you ever have difficulties in submitting on time due to some emergency, you can call the Straw Plains campus, the main number, or my office number. Rule number 4, have respect, R-E-S-P-E-C-T. If you haven't heard Aretha Franklin sing about it, you should YouTube her. She was awesome. So you know the drill here. It's just common sense. Have respect for yourself, your colleagues, and me. And so disrespectful, inappropriate comments or behaviors aren't tolerated. in my classes. And if the comment or behavior would be considered inappropriate in the classroom, then it's going to be considered inappropriate online. Rule 5, do not plagiarize. Plagiarism is serious. It is dealt with severely at Pellissippi and in my classes. All of your essays are run through the Turnitin program to check for plagiarism, so know that. So you know what plagiarism is. It means using the intellectual property or product of someone else without giving them credit. And so you want to make sure you're citing, you're documenting correctly. Please ask me if you're uncertain about what constitutes plagiarism, and be aware that, you know, if you cheat, it's going to be reported immediately, and it's going to result in a grade of 0 on the assignment. It could even cause you to fail the class. I have done that before when I've had students who just blatantly plagiarize and are clearly copying and pasting and that sort of thing. So the bottom line is just don't do it. It's much better to earn an honest C or D or F than a dishonest grade of any kind. And as you know, it's highly competitive now to get into a 4-year university, into programs. And, you know, if the committee sees that you have plagiarized on your records, they're not going to choose you, because they have hundreds or thousands even of students who never did that. And so be aware that that can definitely hurt you. Rule 6, submit on time. So you want to submit assignments before that 11:59 p.m. deadline on the due dates listed on your syllabus and on your weekly checklist. The major paper deadlines generally always fall on a Monday night at 11:59 p.m. And late submission of any of those major papers will result in a 10-point grade deduction for every calendar day that paper is late, and that includes the day that it's due and weekends. And so the major papers are not accepted at all after 5 days. So Rule 7, be sure to watch the videos. I know they can get boring, especially this first one. But I'll be posting videos, and I like to call them musings rather than lectures, which is such an awful word. And they appear obviously on this main announcements page of our course site. Watching the videos will help you earn higher grades, okay? They will. I will give you little hints and little tips that you're not going to know if you don't watch the videos. So, very true. Rule 8, work hard. Anything in life that's worth having requires good old-fashioned work. Rule 9, if I mess up, tell me. Hopefully you'll be respectful about it. So I am fully 100% human, and so if you notice that there's a typo, maybe there's a date that is off, probably that's a typo. If you see a technological issue or error that's causing difficulty, please let me know right away. And sometimes it's my fault, sometimes it's the system's fault, but I will go the extra mile to fix the problem right away. And then finally, if you want to get to know your classmates, again, go to the cafe or email them via the class list. And finally, know that I'm here for you. We continue to be in the midst of a really challenging time with the pandemic continuing. And so I'm going to maintain a strong sense of academic rigor. Know that up front. I am going to expect you to work and to turn things in on time and to do your part. Absolutely, because that's part of what you learn in college. But at the same time, I'm going to go the extra mile to work with you, to be kind and generous to each one of you in all of my interactions with you, and to help you as much as I can at each step along the way, because I genuinely care about my students, and I want to keep up with you. I want to know what's going on in your life after the class ends. I want to see you do well. So please do your part to ensure your own success too. And don't be like the person who created that cute little meme there. Don't be nervous. You got this, right? And don't be nervous. Put the apostrophe in don't. Good idea, right? So next you see just the reading schedule, and obviously I'm not going to go through that with you. But again, the assignments are all listed here, but the best way to stay on top of them is through that weekly checklist. And again, go to content and then scroll all the way down and click on weekly checklist to access those. So, again, welcome to the class, and thank you for your patience.